whenever the conversation of worst movie ever comes up, it's like you really can't say it because it's subjective, but also because you really think the worst movie people have actually seen, we got to think about that. Anyway, though, the Niners had kind of a bad movie last year in terms of their season. I mean, maybe from what they saw, but who knows? Maybe they're a little bit better. Yeah, let's get into the Niners roster. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the San Francisco 49ers 2025 roster grades. The first of 4 NFC West teams we'll be getting through in this series. Again, I don't know when the other three teams are, but they'll be sometime in the future. Niners are first, not because they finished last in the division. I mean, that would be a reason, but it's not. Again, it's just kind of how things go here. Anyway, though, if you haven't watched any of the other what is it called? Teams yet. Again, I think we had Titans, Ravens, Panthers. No, not Panthers. Stuff like that. We've done a couple teams up to this point. It's good to go watch Titans one because that has the full explanation of what you're supposed to. Again, what this is really about. But again, we look at the system for this. Again, basically every single position I grade, it's going to amount to a point total, and it's going to fall in a range of this, which is basically what the overall grade is going to be in terms of a letter grade. So, again, it's more of a range than anything but points. The max number of points that is possible is 468. Again, if you have over 400, I give that an A+ every time. I might even give it if it's close to that. And then you got A-. Again, we'll see that maybe here. No. And then B+, B-. Again, by these point total ranges. And if you have under 130 points, you get an F. So, I mean, I guess there's a little bit of a gray area there. But, I mean, if you have anything close to that sort of thing, it's probably going to be an F. But with that said, again, every single grade level that I give is going to have a different multiplier. So, again, if you get a D, it's going to be 2 times whatever the weight for the position is. Again, every position is just really category we look at for these things as well. So, all that will amount to a point total, and that's where you're going to get this. Also, guys, again, if your team has, again, around 130 points, it's probably not going to be good. Again, also important to mention, the Niners had, I think, the best roster grade last year in terms of points, if I'm not mistaken. So, maybe they can follow it up this year with a similar thing. Probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get into the quarterback position for the Niners. All right, and if you haven't seen the Niners offseason short this go around, again, it was the last video, so I hope you did. Anyway, though, again, it was all about Brock Purdy, and again, I guess we'll just talk about it like that. So again, if you did watch that, again, I talked about how, or not really, just it was kind of displayed that he really wasn't that bad last year, and I really think that's very fair. Statistically, he was still a very good quarterback. Maybe not the same all-time efficiencies that we saw in 2023. But again, considering the group he had to work with, and also, let's be honest, not the greatest group to work with, he still put up very solid numbers. Again, overall, again, the yards per attempt is definitely down, but it's still, again, overall pretty solid. He still didn't take as many sacks with the worst offensive line, and as a rusher was definitely a lot more proactive or just outgoing than what we saw in the past couple years. So I really like that. Again, we look at Brock Purdy in terms of his actual ability. He definitely doesn't have one of the stronger arms in the league. That I honestly probably say him below average. But again, he processes the field really well. He throws over the middle better than, honestly, I think every other quarterback we're going to talk about actually with the number support. Also, last year on film, I saw a lot more confidence in him, which I really liked. Also, the fact that he kind of went through those third reads and, again, really started to try to find a deep ball despite, again, him not having the strongest arm. So, again, that was really good. Again, there's still some stuff he needs to work on. But, again, for, again, a solid quarterback in the league, you got to be pretty happy with him. Again, the contract, that's another thing. But, again, we're not really talking about finances here. So, yes, he worked that money. Absolutely not. But did he get it? Yeah, he did. Mac Jones is the backup quarterback for them. He was actually not awful last year. Again, the numbers won't say that, but I think he was probably better than we saw in 2023. Still, again, wasn't very good at all, but, again, overall, I think he definitely was a little more conservative, and I think definitely read the field a little bit better. That really isn't saying much, though, because he still wasn't very good. So, also I think he was better than he was in 2023, so I guess that's something to go off of. But the other years, you've seen better. So, yeah, again, for a backup quarterback, though, you're not going to be too mad with that. Curtis Rourke, he's, 25. He can't stay healthy, and he's not really that fun of a quarterback to watch. Tanner Mordecai, I swear he was, in the UFL, but he's not that special either. But for the Niners quarterback position, I'll be honest, I'll probably give Brock Purdy a B+. That might be a little bit nice, but, guys, trust me, he's a franchise quarterback. Yes, I understand he is not an elite quarterback by any means, but borderline top 10, I'd probably give that a B+. You could even give him an A tier if you want B. I guess that's fine, but at the end of the day, he's going to be a good quarterback for this team. Again, he showed that last year. Again, even with really not much help, he still can be a solid player. So 45 points at the quarterback position. Again, if you want to give a B, bite me. I don't care. Now let's get to the running back. This Niners running back room is one of the craziest in the league, not because, again, the players they have, more just kind of, honestly, let's go back to last year for it. So, again, this is kind of where I want to start with this. So, the Niners running backs in 2024 consisted of Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerrero, Christian McCaffrey, and Patrick Taylor. They all started the games. They had 5 running backs get injured in some sorts. Or they had 5 running backs start. So, their actual backup running back being, what is it called? Elijah Mitchell, who is now with the Chiefs, and I think he might earn a starting job there. He got injured before the season. Again, looking at Elijah Mitchell, 2021 was his best season. Again, as a rookie, crazy good season. 2022 got injured, and then 2023 again was CMC's backup, but last year didn't play at all. CMC again, the starter. We know he all got injured. We'll get more into that in a second. But he started. Jordan Mason was their best back. He's now with the Vikings. He very well could be their starter by the end of the season. Again, I love Aaron Jones, but like he's old, bro. Isaac Guerrero was their, I guess, kind of presumed 4th back going into the season. He got injured as well, and they ended up with Patrick Taylor starting. So they had 5 starting running backs last year, which is just, in my opinion, is absurd. But anyway, CMC is still a top 5 back in football. I get the injury, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got injured again this year because you look at his career so far. He had 3. Again, 2017 season he really just didn't play much. He had 2018-2019 season where he was very, very productive. Again, the 2019 season being his best season in the NFL up to this point. Maybe not in rushing overall, but as a player. 2020, 2021 injured both years. No, what the heck? Yeah, 2020, 2021 injured both years. 2022 and 2023, he was very productive overall. Again, maybe not the same, like, numbers-wise, counting stats for 2022, but still was great. And then this last season, he struggled with injury. So that could happen again this year. I would, again, that's what the pattern says, but he's still a top 5 back in the league, and we all know that. Isaac Guerrero, very, very fast. I like some of the twitchy movements that he did have. Again, very, very efficient as well. He's got a good burst. The only question is, can he actually break tackles? Because that's still something I'm wanting to see on a consistent basis. But as a backup guy, very intriguing. Third back is Jordan James out of Oregon. He's a very fun guy to watch, but at the end of the day, I don't know if he's really going to be capable. Again, as a guy, as you can really say, yeah, that's your number 1 back. But at the same time, again, he did really well with Oregon last year, so who am I to say? Patrick Taylor Jr., again, he had that 1 start against the Bears. I think he had that 1 touchdown. He's kind of just not really that good, but again, is a depth piece. Again, there's worse guys. So, again, skill positions here. Running back for the Niners, I'll probably give an A-. Yes, the depth could be better. It's a lot of young guys. You know what? And again, CMC's injuries, I think I have to give it an A-. Again, CMC as a player is not an A-, but again, in terms of reliability and the fact that I think he's going to get injured again, I genuinely think that, again, you never want to think that, but I just have a really bad feeling about it. So, erring on the side of caution, I'll give them 30 points of running back. Again, if they still had, like, Elijah Mitchell, I don't even know if Elijah Mitchell, because he hasn't been healthy in 3 years. Maybe not Elijah Mitchell, it's a bad example. If they still had Jordan Mason, it would probably be an A. Anyway, though, wide receiver for the Niners, they made some big decisions this offseason. Again, most notably in getting rid of Debo. But I really honestly don't think this receiving room got a whole lot worse. Brandon Ayuk is a true number 1 wide receiver in the field. I can fully accept that. Last year, he kind of sucked when he played, to be honest with you. He looked pretty bad against the Rams, but he had that monster game against the Chiefs before, or not monster game, looked really good against the Chiefs before he tore his ACL. That is a big issue. Again, but he had back-to-back 1,000-yard season, a 2023 season where he created, I think, the most separation per route in the league, not efficiency-wise, but in terms of the volume he had, that was really good. He's always going to be a guy who's going to be more explosive. So, again, this ACL injury could be a little bit of a concern. But, again, I really don't care at this point. When he's on the field, he's a true number 1 receiver. A lot of questions, but we'll see how that turns out. Juwan Jennings, again, he was their best probably offensive player outside of George Kittle last season. He had a breakout year with 975 yards, nearly 1,000 yards. Again, with him getting injured in not playing week 18, he just barely missed 1,000 yards. But, again, more yards in one season than he had his rest of his career came. I don't know if that's right. I think it's close anyway. Back here on the Niners, they're re-signing. What the heck? I guess that's what we're doing. But yes, I think honestly he's a number 2 receiver. He was great last year. He was their number 1 receiver, and he was very productive. Ricky Pearsall is very interesting here. I was not the biggest fan of him coming out of the draft, but I knew he was an athletic guy, very capable. Again, considering he got shot and he was still able to play 11 games last year is insane. Yes, the consistency was just not good at all. Probably one of the most inconsistent players in football, but still, he had that monster game against the Lions in week 17. He had a good game against the Bucs as well with that 46-yard touchdown. I think he's a really solid player, but I just don't know if it. We'll see how the season goes, but I like him a lot. Worst case, DeMarcus Robinson's your 3rd receiver. He was the number 1 option for the Rams for a couple weeks last year. Really wasn't that good, but he's kind of really evolved into kind of a downfield guy, despite being a possession guy with the Ravens in 2022, and he was also the number 1 receiver that year, which again kind of speaks to what type of guy he is. But as a number 3 guy, as a guy who's a decent red zone target, he's a good player. He's not going to create much separation. He's not going to get open too much, but as a possession guy, downfield sort of guy, he's pretty good. Jacob Cohen, pretty decent speed, but I don't know if that's going to really serve him well because you got a guy like Jordan Watkins who also has decent speed, and is just honestly just a better player. So I'll see how those two guys battle out for maybe some targets. And got Russell Gage, who I didn't even know was still in the league. This can't be the same Russell Gage, right? There's no way. It is? I thought he retired. He hasn't played in forever. Oh, I'll be rooting for him in the preseason. I don't know if he'll make the roster because he hasn't played in 2 years, but we'll see. And they got a bunch of other randos. Oh, Malik Knowles. Holy crap. These names, bro. Let's go back. Yeah, he hasn't played at all in college. Holy crap, 2022. Jesus. Malik Knowles, this is a throwback for me, bro. Anyway, though, outside of that, that's all I got for the receivers. Overall, I like what's going on here. I'll probably give them a B. But, again, there's still a lot of questions. There's good depth here, though. That'll definitely come up for them. But, again, is Jauan Jennings a really true good number 2 receiver? I'd say yes, but it was one season. And also, again, there's just some questions. So, again, it would definitely be a B+ if, Brandon Ayuk was fully healthy. But, I don't know. And Ricky Pearsall, he hasn't really proven himself yet. So, I'll give him a B. That's going to be 9, 18, and 24 points with a lot to like. Now for tight end. George Kittle, pound for pound, is probably the best tight end in the league. I mean, he had 1,100 yards last year. I did not realize that. He's still probably underrated, to be honest with you. Stone elite blocker, even though I don't think he might have had the same down-to-down consistency that we might have saw in, past years. But if you put a back-to-back 1,000 yards, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's freaking amazing. You can't not love George Kittle. He's an elite tight end. That's an A+. I don't even care about their backups, to be completely honest with you. But we want to talk about him. Luke Farrell, I think, is a solid blocker. Ross Dwelley is a really good blocker. But again, at the same time, he's a freaking donut in the receiving game. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was against the Seahawks back in 2022. I don't even know how I remember this. But he had one big catch. I don't even know if that's the right guy. But that's what I got on him. Luke Farrell, like I said, athletic, decent blocker. He definitely provides a little bit more receiving capability, though. So that's what I got on him. But again, backup tight end's probably not good at all. The depth of them questioned, but yeah, George Kittle's had injury issues in the past. I don't care. A+. It's kind of like Christian McCaffrey, but he was healthy last year. So, 6, 12, 18, and what is that? 24 points of tight end. Now let's look at this offensive line as we get to the overall offensive grade after that. And for the 49ers O-line, it's not good. That's probably the best way I can put it. Trent Williams is still probably the best tackle in football when he's on the field. He was just as good. He's old, though. He was injured last year. I don't really know if that's the greatest thing with him, but still, he's probably still the best left tackle in football. He's been that the past, 4 or 5 years now. Andre Dillard, I get he was bad with Titans. I get he was bad with the Eagles, but he actually didn't play that awful last year on overall. And so yeah, I don't think he's the worst guy in the world here, but as a backup, again, you can work with it. Ben Bartch, I think he was okay with the Jags overall in his career. The biggest issues I saw was he just really wasn't much of a guy who could, stop some of that penetration, even penetrate as an again, in terms of a run block unit. So, again, not really effective in that way, but he does hold up pretty well against some of those finesse rushes. Again, those speedy inside guys do have trouble against him. But, on that, again, overall, he's kind of just an average player. Spencer Burford, there's a reason he got benched last year a couple times. But, I mean, they gave him a lot of chances. I just don't think he's a very good player. Jake Brendel, again, big acquisition there at center from, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Vikings. Am I wrong on that? There's no way I'm wrong, right? Yeah. No, what the hell? Oh, this is the other Brendel. Whatever. Jake Brendel. What the heck? That was a brain fart on me. My bad. Jake Brendel's a solid center. That's what I got on him. He's decent. Matt Hennessy, again, I think he played the Falcons and stuff. He's just, whatever. Dominic Pooney's not good. Nick Zake I think he's not a terrible backup. Austin Pleasance, I really don't know too much about him. Outside of the fact that he had that one game. If this loads. We're just geeking out here. He had that one game. What was it? It was against Toledo where he had a breakdown. He was just not happy after one play. So I got him. Cole Mavakevitz has not proven himself as a great player. Again, honestly, he's not that much worse than Mike McGlinchey does. So that's really all I got on him. So this O-line, Ben Bartch is probably the best of the rest of these guys. I do think Jake Brendel's a decent center though. Again, he's done a decent job, but again, not great. The right side isn't great either. So again, yeah, you got one of the best players in football there, and then you got some So overall for this offensive line, I'd probably give them a C+. As a run blocking unit, they'll work pretty well together. But again, it just got some average players and some guys that are very questionable and questionable depth. So it's not the greatest. 12 points for the O-line. And then when we add that all up, we are going to figure this out. 24, 12. That's 135 points for this offense. That will put them in the B+ tier. I think that's fair. They got a lot of talent still. You got to realize, yeah, they lost maybe one guy on that offense. I understand. Again, Kyle Juszczyk, a fullback as well. He's always great. Again, he wasn't great last year, but still. The depth on this offense, I think, is a little bit misleading at some positions. Who the hell is that guy? I think it's not bad. And also, again, they're just kind of like retooled to be. That's probably the best way to put it, because this really didn't get. It's really not that much different from last year, to be honest with you. Outside the fact, the O line could definitely be better. But honestly, you could probably give it a C. But I'm trusting these guys, so we'll see how that works out. But with that said, let's end this defense starting with the front seven. And for the Niners front seven, we again have a lot to talk about. First things first is the fact they do run a 4-3. So again, we'll kind of like attack this as we do. Why is Nick Bosa third string? That does perplex me. Anyway, though, yeah, Nick Bosa is still an elite player. He was really good last year. Again, I don't think he's really quite gotten back to that 2022 season where he put up 18.5 sacks and won the Defensive Player of the Year. But the past few years, pressure-wise, he did go up last year. Also was injured, so that's good. Again, I think he was actually more effective as a run defender. So overall, better season than 2023. But again, still not that same Nick Bosa. But he's still an elite player, obviously. Yetur Gross-Matos struggled with the Panthers. Hasn't really that great with the Niners. I will say he has had some games over the past 2 years, that is, where I'm like, yeah, you can definitely see some sort of potential or some of the things that we saw coming into a season like 2022. You're like, yeah, he could be decent. So, yeah, maybe not the greatest player by any means, but as a depth passer, there's definitely worse guys to have. Michael Williams is going to be asked to do a lot. I really didn't think he was worth that 11 pick just because of the ceiling. I do think he could be a guy who could turn out with maybe a 10-sack season here and there, but the pressure, consistency, and just the overall capabilities of him are just definitely limited. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, Sam whatever. All you need to know is he's just not very good. That's kind of the simple purpose here. I do not know how to pronounce his name. But, yeah, last year the Niners statistically not terrible. But I think he had, like, what was it? I think it was against the Rams. He had, like, 40. No, it wasn't that many. It was, like, let's say 31 pass rushing snaps. He maybe got 3 pressures. So, I'm not a big fan of him. Robert Beal Jr. is a fun guy to watch. Not consistent, though. Again, Nick Bosa is really the big factor there. Again, we'll get into this pass rush in a second. But interior of the D-line, again, losing Javon Hargrave kind of being terrible and then getting injured and, him just kind of being out there. Is he still? I think he is. Right? No, he's with the Vikings now. Whatever. Very weird situation with them. They got rid of him, though, because of the contract. Kevin Givens is actually a really good player. I think he gets a lot of crap sometimes because he's just not great against the run. But I don't think that's a big part of his game. He's more of a guy who's going to kind of just move the pocket into, or not the pocket, the gap over into a linebacker's arm is probably the best way to put it. So, not really what you want to see too much, but it works. Jordan Elliott, I think he's a decent player. He's definitely had his moments where he's given us some massive holes and also just kind of completely got shut down because his power move is all he has. But again, for a power interior rusher, he does a decent job. Alfred Collins is decent depth. CJ West is okay. I don't hate this D-line here. Jonathan Garvin we haven't talked about yet because I really don't know what to make of him, guys. He just hasn't really done much this career. I had no idea he was still in the league, to be honest with you. But again, I guess the Niners have an idea with him. So he had some like get off and some explosiveness again with the Packers over that time. But there's a reason he really didn't last that long. So for this D-line as a whole, it's a big mixed bag. I'll probably give them a B minus. Nick Bosa really carries that, but it's just like the interior is okay. And after that, it's just kind of like what? Like that might actually be nice. I could probably give him a C plus because like neither one. I think Kevin Givens is solid, but like he's not really great. And then you also look at the edge rushers. It's just not a great combination. Again, you got elite player. I understand that. That's why the passers I think will probably get a B minus. But like overall, guys, it's really just Nick Bosa in like intriguing options, but no one who's like really truly proven. And yeah, that's really what I got there. So that's going to be, what is that? It's 12 points. And then we've got 24, 28 points for the pass rush. And then again, looking at this linebacking core, it's very interesting because you got, I don't know what the hell is going on with this, but Bryce Huff is an edge rusher. So you can definitely factor that in. But also Bryce Huff was horrible last year. So while he's definitely a guy who's proven himself with a breakout season in 2023 where he like had a ridiculous efficiency. He was god-awful last year. Like, I like, as good as he was in 2023, he completely erased it with a bad 2024. That inconsistency, again, like I said, it's not really proven. So, yes, potential for this passer is a lot better than a B minus. But really, could it be much better than a B? I don't really know because Nick Bosa and really Bryce Huff are the only guys I've seen as truly good players. But there is good depth at passers, which is good to mention. But anyway, at linebacker, D. Winters is a guy who will definitely be moved around a lot. I don't know if he's really a guy you want to trust too much. Luke Gifford is a very interesting player because with the Cowboys and Titans, specifically the Titans, he was asked to do a lot last year and just wasn't very good. That's kind of the best way to put it. So, again, in a reduced role, I think he could be a guy who could be pretty effective, but again, more a special teamer, to be honest with you. Fred Warner is still probably the best, not the best, one of the best linebackers in football. His run defense, I wouldn't say regression, but less of an impact, I think has hurt him a little bit. Still elite in coverage. He's like the only guy in the league you could probably put on a guy like Cooper Kupp or anything like that. But yeah, Fred Warner is amazing. Tatum Bethune and Chaz Surratt are like whatever. Nick Barton, I could trust him in a sort of role like this. The biggest issue I think I had with Nick Barton coming out of the draft was he just didn't really pop off the screen to me. But the more you look into him, the more his age strikes you, you realize that he's got some things figured out. But again, athleticism-wise, definitely a little bit of concern. Jalen Graham, Curtis Robinson will definitely get him some shots as well. Overall, you got a guy in Fred Warner, and then again, a guy like D. Winters, and a bunch of who the heck knows what. So, for that reason, this linebacking core I'll probably give a C+. Because, yes, as good as Fred Warner is, I got to give him a B-. That's just stupid. As good as Fred Warner is, it's just kind of like, what else are we going to get here? Because no one really else is that great. So, you can give him a B. I'll be okay with that. Again, he's good. Again, Fred Warner is that good, but, like, it isn't an individual or collectively this linebacking core isn't very good. So, 9, 18, 21 points. Now, let's get into the secondary, starting out, again, with the overall defense after that. And secondary, on at least some sort of level, was the biggest change here for this Niners team in the offseason. Deommodore Lenoir, again, it will probably be their presumptive number one corner going into the year. I liked a lot of what he did last year. He had a 2021 season where he really didn't get much playing time, got roasted by Cooper Kupp. 2022, he played a lot. His rating was lackluster. His play was lackluster. 2023, he was pretty solid. And this past season was his best season overall. He is a starting caliber corner at the very least. I think he definitely fits better as number 2. That's why, again, a guy like Travarius Ford last year, he did have to step up, though, so props to him. But I think Deommodore is a solid player. Trey Brown is not very good. That's what I'll say. Very instinctive. Again, you saw that with him in the Seahawks in 2023, but last year there's a reason he didn't really get as much playing time as you might have thought. Because he didn't really play in their scheme very well. So that's honestly what I'll say. Trey Avery's burnt toast. I'm completely fine with saying that. Again, if he wants to pop off this year, that's all him. But yeah, Trey Brown, decent player, but not really the way you want. Ronaldo Green, he's a man coverage specialist. This is, again, what I talked about. Then you got to play press coverage. He is your guy. Overall, had a pretty darn good year for, again, his expectations coming in, but he definitely had his moments. But again, in terms of them drafting him, I really love the pick, and so far, you got to be pretty happy with what's going on. Upton Stout as your nickel backer going into this season is terrifying, not because I don't think he has the versatility for it, but because he does not match up well enough in man coverage to really think he could be this good. There's a lot of other guys that could have drafted to fit this role, but yeah, it probably would have cost him a higher pick. So again, you can kind of understand it, but Upton Stout, you're really gambling with this one. If you can develop him and, kind of mask some of his limitations, that could work out well. Sarain Neal is a guy I think that could definitely start over him, though, because he's had that experience with the Bills, but at the same time, he also isn't very good in man coverage. Dale Luter Jr., I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name. He's an interesting guy because he just really hasn't played much. But at South Alabama, he did show some pretty good growth. So again, that's what I'll say on him. Outside of that, though, for the Niners cornerback room, it's kind of a mixed bag in a lot of ways. They got 2 guys that I think are definitely starting caliber guys, but outside of that, again, it's just kind of like, we'll see. So for that reason, again, Deommodore Lenoir is really only he's really good guy. So I'll probably have to give him a C+ for corner. But again, for a top 2 tandem, it's not bad at all. You can give him a C-, but I'll give him that because I don't really love the depth. 12 points. Safety time. Losing Malik, Losing Talon Ufunga is never a good thing. The backup depth is really good, though. That's what I'll say. Jair Brown, I think he had a better rookie season overall, though. Again, more because he probably got featured a little bit better. Last year he started, I understand that, but I don't think he was the same sort of aggression and really just anticipation that we saw. He was really just relegated to a box sort of role, and I think he did a decent job with that. But again, in terms of the playmaking ability, that was reduced significantly. Malik Mustafa is a really fun guy. Coming into the league, people were like, oh yeah, watch out for this guy. But I really like the way he played, guys. I get he gave up some big plays. That's kind of how it goes as a rookie. He got burned a little bit as well. But on film, guys, in terms of pre-snap recognition and proactive nature, that was completely there. Really like how Malik Mustafa played last year. All right, depth. Richie Grant is not good in coverage. He's never been good in coverage. He can tackle, though. Jason Pinnock, he makes plays. Really hasn't started too much since 2023. And last year when he played with the Giants, he just wasn't very good. George Odom, I think, is a solid special teamer. And as a guy you need to plug and play type sort of thing, is also decent with his versatility. Overall, though, for this safety room, I'll give them a B-. Malik Mustafa definitely adds a little bit more to this group. But again, overall, the depth is solid. Jair Brown, again, I think he's probably an average guy at this point in his career. So that's 9, 18, and 21 points for the safeties. And then when we take that into account for the overall defensive grade, that's going to be 21 plus 12 plus 21 plus 12 plus 28. And then we'll figure out with a 94 overall defensive grade. And that's going to come out to a C. So, maybe not the most talented defense on a broad scheme. But that's all I got for the defense. Let's look at some other things before we figure out what this overall roster grade is. All right, and we look at this Niners special teams unit. Last year, they just weren't very good. I mean, this is kind of like how it goes. Greg Joseph was brought in, I guess, this offseason to maybe go with Jake Moody. Jake Moody, again, as his name suggests, kind of didn't have that sort of good of a season. He was really solid in 2023, though, so again, I mean, maybe that's good. But, yeah, Jake Moody, again, just wasn't very good last year. That's kind of how it was. But, again, we'll see how he steps up this year. Thomas Morstead is like 50. He's 39, Jesus. He's kind of regressed after being the best punter in the league for a while. Jacob Culling, like I said, solid returner. Isaac Reynolds was a really good kicker returner, and John Weeks, I think, is a decent long snapper. But like I said, the special teams unit, again, it's been a problem in the past, but again, with the things they have now, I just don't really like it. Again, good return unit, but that's really about it, so it just doesn't really bode well for me. All right, depth. Quarterback depth, I'd give a C+. Mac Jones isn't the worst backup. Running back depth, I'd give a B-. So, or that might not even be fair. That might be a little bit too good. Let's say a C+. So we're at a C+ so far. Receiver depth, I'd give a B. So B, what are we at? B-. Yeah, let's say C+. C+. Tight end depth, I'd probably give a D+. So we're probably now at a C. We got Kyle Juszczyk. We'll probably give it a he's still at a C. O-line depth is C-. We're probably at a C still. Defensively, D-line depth overall is probably a B-. All right, that might be nice. Maybe not a B-. Again, Alfred Collins, again, he's a rookie. We don't know too much about him. So I'd probably say a C+. So we're probably still at a C. So a C. Linebacker depth is probably C-. So C- plus, we're probably at a C- now, actually, that I think about it. C-. Cornerback depth is okay. Not really. I'll probably give it a D. So a D plus what? D plus C- we're probably still sitting at. So C-. Safety depth is probably a B+. So I'd say we're probably back to a C. And that's what the depth's going to turn out to be, a C. They're not a very deep team on a broad scale, guys. They got some positions that have some depth, but again, there's a lot of other positions that are like, yeah, that guy probably shouldn't be starting. So that's going to be 12, 20 points. And the biggest thing with depth is, perspective, if we put this guy in, is he going to play well? That's kind of how it works. All right. Now we look at the identity of this Niners offense. I don't really think it's going to be much different than last year. Again, last year, even when McCaffrey got injured, they still were relatively productive, so I don't think that's a big issue. It's just, can Brock Purdy elevate his game to win this team games? They only won 6 last year. Got to remember that. Kind of like fell off at the end of the season. But when they play better teams, can this offense step up? I really don't know if that's going to be a possibility for them, but we'll see what happens. Kyle Shanahan will at least make them a pretty good group. So, also, again, don't doubt them. That's what I'll say. Again, I do think a guy like Reed Pearsall could have a massive year, though. So that's what I'll say. That's going to come out to, I don't know, offensively probably a B+. I like what's going on there. Defensively, while they are not the most talented group in the world, they have Robert Saleh back, which automatically gives me an A- for their identity. The biggest problem is he doesn't have a guy like Richard Sherman that he had back in 2019 and still in a defense. Yeah, maybe a guy like Ronaldo Green could be that guy. But again, in terms of the instincts, generational instincts, a guy like Richard Sherman, they don't have a guy in that secondary you can really trust to be able to do that. The D-line is not what it was back in 2019 as well. So that's what I'd like to say about that. But again, overall, I still think, Robert Saleh, you saw again when he left the Jets how bad that defense got, just the team in general. So, again, he wasn't responsible for them running a fake offense. I mean, sort of. But what do you say, an A- and a B+? I'd probably give them an A- for identity. I really think the Niners are building some here. Maybe Kyle Shanahan gets fired, though, and that probably wouldn't be good. 15, 30, 45, and 50 points for the Niners' identity. Now let's see what this overall roster grade looks like after all that. And after doing the calculations on that, we get to 302 points, which is actually more than we had with the Commanders last video. So that's actually a roster grade video. So that's actually pretty interesting there. But 300 points we'll get, 303 we'll get once we get into a B+. 302, my bad. That's not going to be a B+. That'll give you a B, which I think is where this roster does sit. The biggest problem with this Niners roster is they just don't have the greatest depth on defense and just the overall, again, confidence and just kind of security that I have with this group. And offensively, again, there's a lot of questions as well. So questions are the biggest thing with this roster, but at the same time, I really like what they're going with their identity. The depth is, again, probably the biggest thing, too. Again, if they had better depth and maybe, I don't know, a more defined defensive line, it would be pretty good. But at the end of the day, it's just my opinion. No, I'm joking. There's some thought that goes into this. But overall, probably a B for the roster. Again, not terrible by any means. Again, if you're thinking oh yeah, the Rams are going to be like a B. No, they're not. They'd be a lot better than that. I'm joking. Anyway, though, see the stacks the rest of the NFC list as we get later in the series. And yeah, here's if you figure this out, I mean, you'll definitely be able to figure it out, again, if you're going to watch the offseason short for this next team. But yeah, see if you can figure out the next team with the outro.
From just inside the 35. Whedon has time's going to take a shot. Looking for Hopkins down the field, and he's got him! Hopkins with a brilliant over-the-shoulder catch, beating Cody Sensabaugh in coverage.
It's just a phenomenal play. It's got to go down the field here, up top. And he's working against Cody Sensabaugh. You saw the stutter